Hello and welcome to another LeetCode solution video. This is problem number 56, merge intervals. For this problem, we're given an array of intervals where intervals of I is the start of I to the end of I. Merge all overlapping intervals and return an array of the non-overlapping intervals that cover all the intervals in the input. For example 1, our input intervals is 1, 3, 2, 6, 8, 10, 15, 18. So our output would be 1, 6, 8, 10, 15, 18. And this is because our first two intervals, 1, 3 and 2, 6, overlap. So we merge them together and combine them into one interval. For example 2, our input intervals is 1, 4 and 4, 5. So our output would be 1, 5. And this is because both our intervals overlap at 4. So we merge them into one interval. Let's go through an example. For our example, our input intervals will be 3, 7, 8, 10, 1, 4, 9, 12. And for our solution, the first thing we want to do is sort our intervals so that they're in ascending order. And this will make it easier for us to compare our current interval to our next interval and see if they need to be merged together or not. So now our sorted intervals are 1, 4, 3, 7, 8, 10, and 9, 12. And starting off, we're going to set our merged intervals equal to our first interval in our intervals array. So starting off, it'll just have the 1, 4. So since we already have our first interval accounted for in our merged intervals, we'll go to our second one. And we're going to take a look at the first value in our current interval and compare it to the last value in our most recent merged intervals variable. So we're going to compare 3 to 4, and if our current value of our current interval is less than or equal to the most recent value in our most recent merged interval, we will merge them together. So in this case, 3 is less than or equal to 4, so we want to merge these. And to merge these, we're just going to replace our second value in our current merged interval with the second value in our current interval. So now our merged intervals is 1, 7, and we'll move on to our next interval. Our current interval value we're looking at is 8, and our current merged interval value we're looking at is 7. 8 is not less than or equal to 7, so we're not going to merge it. Instead, we're going to take our current interval we're looking at and add it to our merged intervals array. And now we'll move on to our next interval, and we're comparing our 9 and our 10 values. 9 is less than or equal to 10, so we will merge our current interval with our current merged interval, and so we'll replace our 10 with our 12. And we've gone through all our intervals, so now we can just return our merged intervals variable, which is 1, 7, 8, 12. Let's jump into the code. The first thing we're going to do is check to see if our intervals variable is empty, and if it is, we'll just return an empty array. Next, we're going to sort our intervals, and for this we're going to use a lambda function. And in Python, lambda functions are typically used as a quick way to create a simple function without having to define it separately. Our lambda function is going to use the first value in our interval to sort them in ascending order. So this statement pretty much says the lambda function is taking the first value of our interval we're currently looking at, and then the sort is sorting all of those. Next, we'll want to initialize our merge intervals variable, and we'll set this equal to our first interval in our intervals list. And next, we'll iterate through all of our intervals. And we're starting at the second value in our intervals list because we already put our first one into our merged intervals variable. And now we're going to compare our current interval with our merged interval and see if they overlap. If they do overlap, that means our current interval is less than or equal to our current merged interval value we're looking at. And in that case, we'll want to merge the two intervals. And if this is not true, that means our two intervals do not overlap, so we'll just want to add our current interval to our merged intervals variable. And that's it for our looping, so we can just return our merged intervals variable at this point. And that's it for our code, so let's run this. All test case passed, so let's submit. Our solution was accepted, so that's it for this problem. If you like this video and want to see more content like it, make sure to check out my channel. Thanks for watching.